Hello grade 9s, this is Mr. Miller and welcome to lesson 9.1 on representing inequalities. So the first instruction here is to write a word statement to express the meaning of each inequality. And so for the first inequality we have m is greater than -2, and I just want to point out the fact that you could also write this as -2 is less than m. So that's another way to write the inequality. In any case, as far as writing that into a word statement to express the meaning, you could write something like m is greater than -2, where m is the temperature in Montreal. So trying to think of sort of a real-life example where you've got a quantity that is measured that could be either positive or negative, and this quantity is greater than -2, so temperature certainly falls in that category. As far as what that looks like on the number line, what we do is we put a circle around -2 on the number line, but we don't include that, so we don't shade this in, because if m is greater than -2, then it's not equal to -2, so we shouldn't include that point. But we can include all of the points to the right here. Now, if you've only got one color, like if you're using pencil and you're shading right along this line, it might be a little bit hard to see. So what I tend to do in my shading is I go like this. I just kind of do a little bit of a wavy shading, and that way it's clear to see that I'm shading to the right. If you want to do a nice thick line over top of your number line to make it clear, that's also just fine. And it's a good idea in each case when you have a number line to make sure that it's labeled with the appropriate variable. So just kind of some good practice there. Alright, now looking at the next example, so we've got a number line and it's labeled with an X, and you can see that there's an open circle here, so we're not including the -2, and it's been shaded to the left, so that means that X is all of the values less than -2. So as far as what a word statement for this and what it could mean, X is less than -2, where X is Xander's bank account's balance. So again, trying to think of something that could go into the negative. So bank account balances can go into the negative if you can go into debt in your bank account. And so less than -2 means it's even lower than that. So not equal to, but less than. All right. Next one, part C. So this is kind of an interesting one because we've got an open circle around the -2 and then a closed circle around +2, and it's shaded just in between those 2 points. And this number line is labeled with the letter A for a variable. So as far as how you write the inequality statement, it would look like this. So -2 is less than A, or in other words, A is greater than -2. You can see we're shading to the right of the -2. We're not including the -2 because it's not equal to there. And it can go up to and including 2, so A is also less than or equal to 2. So as far as how you write that as a word statement, it would look like this. A is greater than -2, and as well it's less than or equal to 2, where A is the altitude of a city. So maybe you've got a city that's got some highs and lows to it. 0 typically is considered to be at sea level, so an altitude that is negative is below sea level, and an altitude that is positive is above sea level. So if you look at various places in a city, You may find some points that are above sea level, and you may find some points that are below sea level. Nothing that's as low as -2, but it could go up to a high of +2. And this next one here, so we've got m is greater than or equal to 2. So in this case, m could be equal to 2, so I don't just do a circle around the 2, but I actually shade this in, okay, showing that I'm including the 2. So people will also call this a closed circle as opposed to an open circle that we've got here and here. So these are closed circles there. And we want m to be greater than or equal to 2, so greater than would be to the right. And again, to indicate that I'm shading in this direction, and so that it's clearly visible, I do sort of a wavy shading. That's just how I do it. You can certainly do yours in any way. Actually, you may find some teachers do their shading above the number line like this, and certainly that's acceptable too. It's just not my particular style. But anything like that is acceptable as long as it's clear in which direction you're shading. Anyways, as far as a word statement goes, you can write something like this: m is greater than or equal to 2, where m is the mass of the products of a chemical reaction. So that's a possibility. Alright, so now we've got some true or false statements to look at. It says that if the statement is false, we want to rewrite it to make it true. So we'll certainly do that. So the first statement is a closed circle indicates that the boundary point is not a possible value. Well, closed circle means that it's actually filled in. So this is false. Okay, and so to change that statement to make it true, you can write something like a closed circle indicates that the boundary point is a possible value. Okay. So now for the next one, it says the inequality -4 or less than x means x is greater than -4. So I read it from left to right, -4 or less than x, but if you read it from right to left, x greater than -4, then certainly that is true. So I'm just going to indicate that is true. So, and I know this is a little bit of a silly little thing, but if you want to remember whether it's which thing is bigger, what I tend to say here is that this is kind of like a little alligator here, and the alligator likes to eat the bigger numbers. So if you want to put some teeth on this guy and indicate it in that way, well then that's up to you. That doesn't look like much of an alligator. But anyways, you get the idea. Okay. So last statement to look at here, true or false statement, says a boundary point is always shown on a number line using an open circle. So that is, of course, false. And so to change that to make it correct, you can say that a boundary point is shown on a number line using either an open circle or a closed circle. And now this is corrected. So there you go. Let's turn over to the next page and have a look at these questions. So for number 3 to 6, we want to fill in the missing information. We want to represent the inequality verbally using a real-life context in column A. In column B, we want to represent the inequality graphically So we'll do that on a number line. And in column C, we want to represent the inequality algebraically. So with an inequality statement and maybe some clarification as well about that. So there's already one example done for us, the height of a rocket that is launched 1 meter below sea level. So starting at -1, so it includes the -1 because that's where the rocket was initially, and the height goes up from there. So algebraically, here is the inequality statement, h greater than or equal to -1, where h is the height of the rocket. So let's take a look at these next few examples here. So number 3, it says the temperature below -4 degrees Celsius. So you can see I've got a number line set up here with the number -4. And since it's below -4, we don't want it to be equal to -4, so I'm going to put an open circle there. And if it's below -4, then that means it's less than. So I'm going to shade to the left here. And as far as how you show it algebraically, it would look like this. T less than -4, where T is the temperature. So next one, we're given this 2 greater than or equal to x. Just want to point out that it can also be written as x less than or equal to 2. And so I actually prefer to have the variables on the left side of the inequality, because one thing that you'll notice when it's written this way, x less than or equal to 2, you may find it a little bit easier to draw, to do your graph, okay, on the number line. So because it could be equal to 2, we want to do a closed circle. We want to shade that in, and we do want to shade to the left. So I'm just going to do that, shading to the left there. Okay, and now one thing I should point out is that when the variable is on the left side of the inequality, the other thing is that the inequality sign actually points in the direction that you want to shade, which is kind of handy. So that's not true when the variable is on the other side of the inequality. When it's on the right side of the inequality, it doesn't work that way. So you may want to rewrite your inequalities having the variable on the left. That way the inequality is going to point in the direction your arrow should go. In any case, so what this could mean is the temperature in Zanzibar, Brazil is at most 2. So I had to do a little bit of a Google search to find a city that starts with X, but anyways, Zanzibar, Brazil is apparently a city in Brazil. Is at most 2, so 2 or less than that. And the next one, we are given this graph and we have to kind of come up with the rest. So I've chosen a letter J, and my J is representing the mass of jelly beans, and I'm saying it's more than 2. So I haven't indicated units here. It could be 2 grams or 2 kilograms, I don't know. In any case, since it's more than 2, it's not equal to 2, so we've got an open circle here, and more than 2, so it's shaded to the right. And as far as how that looks algebraically, you would write it this way: J is greater than 2. And again, notice with the variable on the left side of the inequality, this points in the direction that we are shading. Okay. So J is the mass of the jelly beans, in this example. And the last example that we're looking at here, so we're given this inequality, x is greater than or equal to 0, and it's also less than or equal to 5. Well, you can actually combine that into a single inequality. You can write it this way, in a compact way. And so what it means, since x is greater than or equal to 0. So it could be equal to 0, so we're going to include that endpoint. It could be equal to 5, so we're going to include that endpoint as well. And it could be any of the points in between, so we're just going to shade in between those 2 points. And so as far as what this could be representing, so something like the mark on a quiz out of 5 for student X could be between 0 and 5, and I put inclusive just to make it clear that I am including the endpoints. So that's the end of this lesson. You can get started on your assignment now. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in class, and have yourselves a great day.